Okay, now. So consequence.
Your voice is echoing.
Yeah, wait. Okay, right. Okay. Consequences of ozone depletion, right? So, what are the consequences? So, first, you see here UV radiation. So, this is very, very important thing, right? So, UV radiation. So, UV rays in first discovered by Johann. Okay. Johann W. Ritter in the year of 1801. So he was a German physicist and he was born in Poland, but he is German physicist. So ultraviolet rays comes naturally from which place? From which place?
Sun, man, solar
Sun, right? So the sun is the primary source of ultraviolet rays, right? So ultraviolet of rays of wavelengths from 10 nanometers to 125 nanometers, right? So when sunlight reaches the Earth's surface, it is main types of radiations. All of you know that is, you see here, right? So the ultraviolet radiation is just one form of radiation, right? And it is measured on electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum. So the electromagnetic waves within each frequency band, so those are called by different names, right? So beginning at the low frequency here, you see here, sorry. Okay, right. So the low frequency, that means long wavelength, right? Long wavelength. This one. End of the spectrum, right? So these are radio waves, you see here, and microwave, infrared, visible, ultraviolet, X-rays, and also gamma rays at the high frequency. And right? So the solar...
Madam, X-rays and X-rays, gamma rays are same, kada, madam?
And maximum 10 to the power of -8, 10 to the minus 10.
And gamma rays come from the nucleus and X-rays come from the outermost.
Right. So these are maximum same, right? So solar emissions from the sun include visible light. So infrared and ultraviolet radiations, right? So what is the infrared and visible and ultraviolet? So infrared radiation is what gives sunlight its warmth, right? Then next, visible means visible light helps to us see, right? You see the symbol of this sunglass. And ultraviolet. So this is a type of radiation that we cannot feel or see, right? So it's naturally comes from the sun. So when it comes to the damaging effects of sunlight, ultraviolet is a major culprit, right? So the most common form of ultraviolet radiation is sunlight, right? So which produces three main types. So under anta mundu class lo adigaru, what is UVA and UVB, ma'am? Okay. So now you listen. So these are three common types, that is ultraviolet A. UVA means ultraviolet A. Then next UVB means ultraviolet B. That's only. And C means ultraviolet C. Right? So these are the three types of UV rays. So visible light from the sun passes through the temperatures and reaches on the earth surface, right? So you see here, this is the ultraviolet A rays, right? So why is that working? Okay, right. Okay, right. So this UV ultraviolet A is a long wave ultraviolet, right? It's called long wave ultraviolet. So this is the closest to visible light, right? So most of the ultraviolet rays also reach the Earth's surface, right? So ultraviolet rays can penetrate deepest. So that is the middle layer of your skin, that is called dermis, right? So the ultraviolet wavelength is 320 to 400 nanometers. So these are only slightly affected by ozone layer, right? This ozone layer you see here. Okay. So most of the ultraviolet radiations under above 95%, right? So that is able to reach the Earth's surface, and it can contribute to tanning and skin aging, like spots, right? Spots and wrinkles, because it does not reach so deeply into your skin layers, right? That is dermis layer. So ultraviolet rays, it can also increase the risk of skin cancer, but mostly it is involved in accelerating skin aging, right? Accelerating skin aging, right? So, and also these are damages the elasticity of your skin, right? Ante skin saagipotundantara adi anamata. And also making it more prone to wrinkling and sagging. That means mudtalu and also some kungipovodam antaru kada, like that, wrinkling and sagging. So this is the ultraviolet rays. Sorry, right? So these are long wave ultraviolet. You see this. So next you see ultraviolet B. A and this is B. Right? So this ultraviolet B is the second shortest wavelength, and it main culprit of sunburn. Right? What is that? Sunburn. 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 So it is mostly absorbed by the ozone layer, but still gets through ultraviolet wavelength, that is 280 to 320 nanometers. So these are strongly affected by ozone holes, right? So the ultraviolet B, these are the harmful rays that cause sunburn, right? So fortunately, about 95% of these harmful UVB rays are absorbed by the ozone in the Earth atmosphere. Right? So these rays penetrate the epidermis of your skin. It harms the top layer, right? Top layer of your skin. And also these rays are stronger or weaker depending on the time of day and seasons also, right? So what happens, that stronger rays, it causing sunburn and snow blindness, and also immune suppression and a variety of skin problems, including skin cancers and premature aging, right? So these are the figures. You see here sunburn figures, some of the, right? Then next, ultraviolet C. So this is A and B and C. You see the difference, variation here, difference between A and B and C. So UVC, ultraviolet C is the shortest wavelength of here in UV rays. So it's never reaches the earth surface. Chudandi ikkada reach avutunda earth surface ki. What like
that? Shortest wavelength is the least dangerous.
Yeah, right. Right? Because this ozone is absorbed, right? Here. Ikkada agipotundi manaki. Bhumi danka ravatledu, right? Then next, UVC radiation, which from the sun does not reach the earth surface because it is blocked by the, what is that? This ozone layer in the
ozone layer.
Right. In the atmosphere, right? So that's the only way that humans can be exposed to UVC radiation, that is forming an artificial source. What is the artificial source? Like a lamp or laser, right? Lamp or lasers. So these UVC rays wavelength is 100 to 280 nanometers. 280 nanometers. And they are very strongly affected by ozone levels. So that the levels of ultraviolet C radiation reaching the Earth's surface, those are relatively negligible, right? So these radiation can cause severe burns of the skin and eye injuries, right? And skin burns and eye injuries from UVC exposure usually resolve within a week with no known long-term damages, right? So since the penetration depth of UVC radiation that is very low, and the risk of skin cancer, cataracts, or permanent vision loss is also proved to be very low, right? You see here some of the wavelength and variations here. So wavelength ultraviolet A is 3152, 399, 282, 320, and 100 to 280 nanometer. So absorption level is not absorbed by the ozone layer and mostly absorbed by the ozone layer, but some does not reach the Earth's surface. And here UVC are completely absorbed by the ozone layer and atmosphere, right? So you see, there are 3 common types of skin cancers here. So first one is basal cell skin cancer and squamous cell skin cancer and melanoma. Third one is melanoma. So this is called BCC, basal cell skin cancers, BCC, and squamous cell skin cancer, that is called SCC, right? So of 3, melanoma the melanoma is the most aggressive type of skin cancer, right? So the first 2, along with a number of less common skin cancers, these are known as non-melanoma, right? Non-melanoma skin cancer. M.Sc, non-melanoma skin cancers, right? So first one is basal cell skin cancer. So this grows slowly and it can damage the tissue around it, but it is unlikely to spread to distant areas or result in death also, right? And squamous. So it is more likely to spread, right? It's more likely to spread. And also melanomas, these are the most aggressive, right? It is signs include a mole that has changed in size, shape, color. It has irregular edges and it has more than one color. It itchy or bleeds, right? You see here some of the examples and figures here. So this risk of melanoma that is influenced by your skin type and the amount of ultraviolet exposure in your lifetime. So sunburns, those are also a direct result of damage to your skin by ultraviolet light, right? So more than 90% of cases, those are caused by exposure to ultraviolet, right? Ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So this exposure increases the risk of all these three main types of skin cancers.
Ma'am, is there any limit for receiving UV radiation?
అర్థం కావట్లేదు, గట్టిగా అడగండి.
And the UV radiations receive human skin. Is there any limit specified for receiving the UV radiation?
Limit and index. I will tell you index. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Then next, particularly in your examination, they are asking write about Australia, skin cancer in Australia, right? So why particularly in Australia? Tell me.
Maybe
the UV radiation is the most over there.
Yeah, it is near to.
Okay.
The southern part, ma'am.
Solar,
yeah, right.
Solar vortex, ma'am.
Solar vortex.
Okay. So the highest rate of melanoma or skin cancers in the world, it is in the state of, what is that? Queensland. Queensland in Australia, with around how much? 8 lakhs, right? 8 lakhs skin cancers diagnosed each year, right? And more than 2,000 deaths. It is caused by the disease nationwide, right? And 2/3 of all Australians. How much? 2/3. 2/3 of all Australians will have been diagnosed with some form of skin cancer by the time they are, what is the age? 70 age. And the incidence that is expected to continually rise in correlation with rising ambient temperatures, right? So skin cancers including both melanomas and non-melanomas, right? So these skin cancers result from skin damage by ultraviolet radiation, UVR, which accounts for at least how much? 95%. 95% of all skin cancers in Australia. So the Australia experiences high level of ultraviolet radiation resulting from the reduction in their ozone layer since the 1970s, right? So the stratospheric ozone layer absorbs the biologically damaging wavelengths of ultraviolet rays from the 1970s, right? So the Australia's ozone layer was severely thinned. It has a consequence of heavy use of ozone depleting substances. What are the ozone depleting substances? Those are chlorofluorocarbons and also hydrofluorocarbons, right? So the incidence of melanoma increased by 60% between 1980 to 2010 in Australia. So non-melanoma. So this is melanoma. Non-melanoma skin cancer that is not as aggressive. It has melanoma, right? So in 2011, 521 people lost their lives fighting from non-melanoma skin cancer in Australia, right? And in 2012, right? See, 2012, the number of cases of skin melanoma in Australia, it was 12,510, an increase of 60 deaths. And 1,560 deaths from melanomas and 543 are from non-melanomas, right? And also in total over, that is 4,34,000. So these are total individuals sought treatment for non-melanomas in the year of 2008. So there were an approximately how much? 1,560 deaths from melanomas in the year of 2012 and 543 from non-melanomas. Right? And almost 1 million cases of skin cancer in the year of 2015 in Australia. Right? 1 million. So imagine how much? 1 million. So in the year of 2016, 14,485 new cases of melanoma, right? Melanoma were diagnosed in Australia, and 94 deaths recorded in 2018, and in the year of 2019, 1,415 people are died, right? And also in 2020, it is estimated there will be just under 150,000 new cases of cancer that is diagnosed, and just under 50,000 deaths from cancers, right? So a conservative estimate of the cost of treating melanoma in Australia, how much? Exceeding 270 millions. How much? 270 millions. That is annually. You see, 270 millions. So if we add non-melanoma skin cancers, that is keratinocyte cancer, right? And the bills is likely more than 1 billion per year. How much? 1 billion. So you see here some of the Now, so this is Australia. Now, USA. So skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States and worldwide, right? So more than two people die of skin cancer in the US every hour, not every year or every month, every hour, right? So it having more 5 or more sunburns doubles your skin for melanoma. So in the US, the more than 9,500 people are diagnosed with skin cancer every day. Every day, remember this. So more than 5.4 million cases of non-melanoma skin cancer were treated in over 3.3 million people in the years, the year of 2012. And more people are diagnosed with skin cancer each year in the US than all other cancers combined, right? So at least 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer by the age of, what is that? I already told 70, right? So actinic keratin, this actinic keratosis, actinic keratosis, it's often found on the face, lips, and also ears, forearms, scalp, and also some of the neck places and back of the hands, right? So that is called actinic keratosis, right? So it is the most common pre-cancer. So it affects more than how much? 58 million Americans, right? So the annual cost of treating skin cancers in the US, it is estimated at 8.1 billions, right? So about 4.8 billion for non-melanoma skin cancers and 3.3. So out of 8.1, so 4.8 non-melanoma and 3.3 melanoma, right? So the diagnosis and treatment of non-melanoma skin cancers in the US increased by 77% between 1994 and 2004. How much? 77% increased. You see. So about 90% of non-melanoma skin cancers are associated with exposure to ultraviolet radiation from the sun, right? And you see here,
ma'am, దీనికి మెలనోమా కి ఇనిషియల్ డయాగ్నోసిస్ ఉండవా?
ఉంటాయి ఎందుకు ఉండవు కానీ ఇప్పుడు కదా చాలా అప్పుడు ఇప్పుడు ప్రతి చెప్పాను కదా ప్రతి మినిట్ కి అక్కడ 2 మెంబర్స్ చనిపోతున్నారు మనకి.
మన ఇండియానే బెటర్ మేడం.
ఇండియా చాలా బెస్ట్. ఇండియా ఇస్ వెరీ బెస్ట్.
మేడం ఇక్కడ క్యాన్సర్ అక్కడ క్యాన్సర్ ఎక్కడ పోతాం? యాక్చువల్లీ ఇండియాలో స్కిన్ క్యాన్సర్ ట్రీట్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ వెరీ చీప్ మ్యామ్.
రైట్, ఎందుకంటే మనకు సన్ ఎక్కువ వస్తుంది కదా, వాళ్ళకు తక్కువ. బికాస్
నేను చూస్తాను మేడం, కేర్ హాస్పిటల్స్ అపోలో, మెనీ పీపుల్ ఫ్రమ్ ఆఫ్రికా దే కమ్ హియర్ ఫర్ స్కిన్ క్యాన్సర్ ట్రీట్మెంట్స్, స్కిన్ ట్రీట్మెంట్స్.
ఓహో, ఓకే, రైట్. కేర్ హాస్పిటల్
మన హైదరాబాద్.
సో యు రైట్ వన్ ఆర్టికల్ అబౌట్ దిస్ స్కిన్ క్యాన్సర్. ఎనీవన్ అంటే ఫ్రమ్ ఇండియాలో అక్కడి నుంచి ఇక్కడికి ఎందుకు వస్తున్నారు? సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్? సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద కాస్ట్? సో హౌ మెనీ పీపుల్ ఫ్రమ్ కమింగ్ యుఎస్ పర్ ఇయర్ ఆర్ పర్ మంత్ అట్లా రాసుకోవచ్చు మీరు పేపర్ ఒకటి. చెప్తున్నారా కేర్ హాస్పిటల్స్? సో యు సర్చ్, ఇంకా ఏమో ఉన్నాయి ఇంకా హాస్పిటల్స్, మెయిన్ హాస్పిటల్స్ మనం సెర్చ్ చేసి వాళ్ళ మీద రీసెర్చ్ చేసి ఒక ఆర్టికల్ రాయొచ్చు. ఉంటాయి పేషెంట్స్. ఓకే, సో
ma'am, people should not worry about COVID. Other reasons are killing them more.
Right. So then an estimated of 3.6 million cases of bacillus melanoma skin cancer. These are diagnosed in the US each year, right? Much 3.6. And squamous cell carcinoma, that is the second most common from of skin cancer, right? It is estimated 1.8 million cases of SCC cancer. So these are diagnosed in the US, that is each year, right? So that latest figures that is suggest that more than how much 15,000 people die of squamous cell carcinoma of skin in the US, that is each year. So more than twice as many as from melanoma, right? And organ transplant patients are approximately 100 times more likely than the general public to develop squamous cell carcinoma, SCC, right? 100 times, you see. So, and regular daily use of an SPF. What is the SPF? So, ladies, tell me, all of you know about this one. What is this SPF? Anybody? So SPF, you can use daily SPF 15 minimum. SPF 15 or higher sunscreen reduces the risk of developing squamous cell carcinoma by about 40% from the radiation, right? So I told you, just wait 2 minutes, okay? Then melanoma, it is estimated that the number of new melanoma cases diagnosed in the year of 2021, it will increase by how much? 5.8 is here, 5.8%, right? So the number of melanoma deaths is expected to increase by 4.8% in the year of 2021. So it's gone already, right? An estimated 207,390 cases of melanoma, it will be diagnosed in the year of 2021, right? In the past decades, that is 2011 and 2021, between, right? So the number of new invasive melanoma cases diagnosed annually increased by how much? 44%, right? 44%. So between the year of 2011 and 2021, 10 years period, right? So the cost of direct medical care for skin cancer cases attributable to indoor tanning. Indoor tanning, that is 43.1 million, that is annually in the US, right? So, you know, more than 1 million Americans are living with melanoma skin cancer, right? 1 million. So skin cancer rates are higher in women than in men before age 50, right? But those are higher in men after age 50, which may be related to differences in recreation and work-related ultraviolet exposure, right? So this is the skin cancers in USA and Australia, right? So worldwide skin cancers, it is an estimated 19.3 million new cancer cases. That means 18.1 million excluding non-melanoma skin cancer, and almost 10 million cancer deaths. That is 9.9 million excluding non-melanoma skin cancers. That is according to the year of 2020. So more than 5,400 people worldwide die of non-melanoma skin cancers. That is every month, not every year, every month. So you see here, all of you use sunscreen lotion above SPF 15. SPF 15. What is this SPF? Anybody tell me, what is this SPF?
Sun protection factor.
Right, right. So you use these above 15 SPF creams only and use sunglasses, and it is protect to you from ultraviolet radiation. So yeah, tell me, Durgesh, what is this PA++? So you see here ultraviolet A, protection from ultraviolet A, right? So PA, that is the range, right? Range, right? So PA plus and PA plus plus and PA plus plus plus. So the maximum rating means it had a PPD value of 16, right? So that is
What is the full form of
that a
PA?
person can theoretically withstand at least 16 times more than UVA, ultraviolet radiation, before tanning with the sunscreen on compared to without, right? So that's why all of you use above 15 SPF lotions only, right? While going out, right? So PA, it means protection grade, right? Protection grade, right? You see here, right? So all of the UVC and most of the UVB radiation that is absorbed by the Earth's ozone layer, right? So nearly all of the ultraviolet radiation received on the Earth is due what is that? Ultraviolet ray.
UV,
Then it is
UVB, ma'am. UVB and
UVA.
UVA.
Yeah, right. So UVA and UVB radiation can both affect the health, right? So even though UVA radiation is weaker than UVB, right? So it penetrates deeper into the skin and is more constant throughout the year. So since UVC radiation that is absorbed by the Earth's ozone layer, it does not pose as much of the risk, right? So you see here, no sunscreen. So 100 protons. Sunscreen, so you do not use sunscreen lotion. So these 100 protons are going to your skin, damage your skin, right? Then next you can use SPF 15 sunscreen lotion. So that is 93% protection. So only 7 photons enter your skin only, just slightly, right? Then next you can use SPF 15 sunscreen lotion. So
30, ma'am.
Sorry, 30. So 90% is protection, right? So you see only 3 photons are enter in your skin. So this is very best. So you can use SPF 30 sunscreen lotions. Tell me, male candidates, your wives or your sisters, any your home ladies. Andaru Japan, Durgesh, you can use only SPF. Summer వస్తుంది కదా, best you can use SPF 30. SPF 30 above 15 ఉన్నాయి తీసుకోండి బయటకు వెళ్తే. చాలా మందికి తెలియదు సన్ స్క్రీన్ అన్నా ఇది బాగుంది ఓకే ఇట్స్ ఓకే అని తీసుకుంటారు, స్మెల్ బాగుంది అని. నాట్ స్మెల్, యూ కెన్ సీ SPF రేటింగ్, రైట్? చాలా మందికి తెలియదు ఇది SPF.
Boys can also use, no?
What?
Boys can also use, no, ma'am?
Boys skin. Sorry, I can't.
Boys can also use, no, ma'am? Not
yeah,
only girls.
Boys also can use. Okay. Maximum they are not using face creams, right? That's why I'm telling only for ladies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You see how UV rays penetration into the layers of your skin. I already told this, right? So this is your skin. You see here, this is called first layer, right? Epidermis, and second layer dermis and hypodermis. UV rays.
Ma'am, sometimes UV radiations will enter eyes also. UV.
Right. అందుకే కదా సన్ గ్లాసెస్ అని చెప్పేది నేను. సన్ గ్లాసెస్ యూజ్ చేసుకోండి బయటకు వెళ్ళినప్పుడు. ఓకే, ఐ కూడా మనకి కాజ్ అవుతుంది, మనకు అది కూడా ఎఫెక్ట్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ ద కాన్సిక్వెన్సెస్ ఆఫ్ ది ఓజోన్ డిప్లీషన్. సో వెయిట్, ఐ విల్ అప్లోడ్ లాస్ట్ లెసన్, మాంట్రియల్ ప్రోటోకాల్. ఓకే, can I proceed?
Yeah, ma'am.
With your permission. Okay, just wait. Okay. Right? So this is also important thing. So Montreal Protocol. Wait, I will upload. Right. Now, Montreal Protocol. So it is also important question. Okay. So first of all, what is the ozone depletion?
Depletion of the ozone layer from the stratosphere layer, ma'am.
Yeah.
Right. So ozone depletion is the significant reduction of total ozone present there.
Total ozone.
So it is due to reaction of, what is that? O3, right? O3 with ozone depleting substances, ODS. Right? So you see here. So what are the ozone depleting substances? I already told just now.
PFCs, HFCs.
Yes. Methyl, bromine, chlorine, carbon,
chlorine, bromine.
Right? So, okay, right. So what is the Montreal Protocol? Right? So the Montreal means it is a city in the Canada. That is the name, right? Montreal means city in the Canada. The Montreal Protocol is a landmark international environmental agreement or international environmental treaty, right? So the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer 16th September 1987 in Vienna Convention concluded in the year of 1985. So the Montreal Protocol was preceded by the Vienna Convention, right? Vienna Convention for the protection of what? Ozone layer, right? Ozone layer. So which is concluded in the year of 1985, which talked about the harmful impact of this ozone layer depletion. So, and they said that depletion of ozone layer, it would be lead to incoming of ultraviolet B, UVB radiation.
Screen ravatle.
Screen ravatle. Oh, just wait.
We cannot see, ma'am.
Wait, sorry. Okay, right. Okay.
Ma'am, Vienna ante Austria kada ma'am? Vienna means it is in Austria, no ma'am? Austria.
ఆస్ట్రియా ఉండొచ్చు. కాకపోతే ఈ మాంట్రియల్ ప్రోటోకాల్ అన్నది మనకు వియన్నా కన్వెన్షన్ అప్పుడు అంటే అదొకటి ఒక అగ్రిమెంట్ ఆర్ ట్రీటీ ఆర్ ఏమంటారు ఇంకా ఏమైనా సమ్మిట్ అలా పిలవచ్చు, రైట్? సో దే గ్యాదర్డ్ ఇన్ దట్ వియన్నా కన్వెన్షన్ ట్రీటీ, రైట్? So and this that depletion of ozone layer, it would lead to incoming of this ultraviolet B radiation into the Earth's surface, right? So, and considering the Vienna Convention, that is Montreal Protocol, came into force, and it was mainly focused on the, what is that? Substances, right? Substances that deplete the ozone layer, right? So this was signed in the year of 16th September 1987. Remember this, 16th September 1987. That's why, and it is entered into force from 1st January, right? 1st January 1989. You remember this. So signed was in the year of 16th September 87, and it is entered into force from 1st January 89. Just one second. Hello. Right? So it was designed to stop the production of ODS, ozone depleting substances, and reduce its concentration in the atmosphere. That is to help protect the ozone layer, right? So now this protocol was mainly proposed to ban the production of chlorofluorocarbons. What is the aim? Chlorofluorocarbons, right? So you see here, 16th September 1977. So that's why we are celebrate the 16th September, that is the International Ozone Day, right? So if the ozone is broke down, what happens is there? Harmful ultraviolet rays can easily penetrate and it can have some defects on human beings, right? So that's why ozone layer is very, very important to us, right? So there was another idea to substitute the chlorofluorocarbons, that is to hydrofluorocarbons. And these were less reactive and less harmful in comparison to the
ma'am, ఇప్పుడు UVA, UVB, UVC ఉంది కదా. UVA has longer wavelength, no? So that is more dangerous, or the UVC which is having more intensity is more dangerous?
మీకు అర్థం కాలేదా? మనకి అల్ట్రావైలెట్ రేస్, ది లాంగ్ వేవ్ UVA,
లాంగ్ వేవ్ లెంత్ మనకు పెనట్రేషన్ పవర్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది.
అవును.
సో అది మోర్ డేంజరస్. అది మోర్ డేంజరస్ మేడం, ఆర్ UVC is more dangerous because that is more
C is more dangerous.
Okay.
Okay. So for developed, right? So developed nations or developed countries, it was suggested by the year of 1995, they should cut the production of ozone depleting substances, so which is called as ODS, right? So however, this deadline was extended to 2005 for the developing nations or developing countries. So you had the deadline for developing and developed nations as separate, right? So later on, there was a ban of chlorofluorocarbons, and this ban talked about completely removed of chlorofluorocarbons from refrigeration and aerosol industries, right? So you see, then they talked about the global consumption has been reduced by the 98%, right? 98% by the year of 2008. Right? So they talked about phasing out hydrofluorocarbon as well by 2007, right? 2007. And the global production of chlorofluorocarbons should end by the year of 2010. And there are the main proposals. What is the main proposal under this Montreal Protocol? These 2007 and 2010. So those are chlorofluorocarbons banned, right? So the Montreal Protocol itself and Vienna Convention, it was ratified by 197 nations. It means 197 countries have signed in this protocol, making Montreal Protocol achieves. And universal ratification, right? So this universal ratification status, right? So the universal ratification means Montreal Protocol is expected by all the countries around this globe, right? So therefore, it is considered to be the most successful environment protection treaty. So this is the introduction of Montreal Protocol. Now, the history. So what is the history of Montreal Protocol? So in yearly 1973, right? 1973, that is two American chemists, right? So those are Roland, right? Roland and Malina, right? So they gave a reaction of how ozone molecules destroy, right? So in the year of 1974, they got their work was published in Natural Journal. So what is the topic? So how ozone molecules destroy. So that is the topic of these two peoples are writing journals, wrote journals in this Natural Journal, published in Natural Journal, right? So in the year of 1976, the United States National Academy of Science confirmed the scientific readability of their hypothesis on a report, right? So this is the history. In the year of 1978, chlorofluorocarbons based aerosols were banned in United States and Norway and Sweden and also Canada, right? So you see the history. First one is 1978. So in year of 1985, the British Antarctic Survey. Right? So British Antarctic Survey scientists found incredibly low ozone levels over the Antarctica, and they published in Natural Journal, right? So these were the first measurement of the ozone hole, right? So right, okay, na? So this discovery came as a shock to the scientific community. Why? Why? Because the levels were far lower than anybody had expected. NASA satellite measurements of Antarctica, and it had not found these low ozone levels. So, however, when the NASA went back, right? So they got doubt. That's why they went back and checked their measurements. They realized that the satellite had been programmed to reject measurements below a certain level as errors. When the original data was reprocessed, the ozone hole appeared in the same data, right? So that's why in the year of 22nd March 1985, the Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer came into existence. Initially, it was signed by just only 20 countries, including most of the major chlorofluorocarbon producers, right? So they agreed to take voluntary measures to reduce ozone depleting substances, right? So Montreal Protocol on this one, right? So 16th September 1987, representatives from 43 countries signed them your protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. They agreed to freeze production of chlorofluorocarbons at 1986 levels, and to reduce production by 50% by the year of 1999, right? So because it was signed on 16th September, right? That's why every year we celebrate our International Ozone Day, 16th September, right? So, and the Montreal Protocol entered into force in the 1st January 1899, right? And in 1995, you see here, 95, two brilliant people, right? So these Roland and Malina, so got Nobel Prize for this work or for these publications, right? So now this protocol was mainly proposed to ban the production of chlorofluorocarbons, right? So there was another idea to substitute the chlorofluorocarbons to hydrochlorofluorocarbons, that is HCFCs. And these were less reactive and less harmful in comparison to the chlorofluorocarbons, right? So these came into effect. Again, there was an idea to shift from chlorofluorocarbons, and there was a deadline that was set for developed nations and also developing nations, right? So for developed nations, it was suggested by 1995, they should cut the production of ozone depleting substances, so which is called as ODS, right? So however, this deadline was extended to 2005, right? 2005 for the developing nations or developing countries, right? So later on, there was a ban on chlorofluorocarbons, and this ban talked about complete removal of chlorofluorocarbons from where refrigerations and aerosol industries, right? So then they talked about the global consumption, right? Global consumption, it has been reduced by the how much? 98% by the year of 2008. And they talked about phasing out of hydrofluorocarbons as well by the 2007. Right? And the global production of chlorofluorocarbon should end by 2010, right? So this is the Montreal Protocol history. And the next mechanism, right? Mechanism of its working. So first one, it sets out a mandatory timetable to phase out ozone depleting substances. So it's like when you work in a laboratory, a timetable is given to, right? So reduce the ozone consumption in phases, right? Then next, this timetable sets binding progressive. Okay. Sets binding and progressive phase out obligations on the parties. So it means it will ask a particular parts to reduce a particular ozone depleting substances consumptions slowly and steadily. So first you reduce the ODS consumption by 25%, then maybe 75%, and then completely freeze the consumption by reduce to 100%, right? So that's how it gave progressive phase out timetable, right? And then next, the Montreal Protocol targets 96% to 100% ODS. And also this timetable is revised regularly. So now why this revision? Because this revision is in accordance to scientific advances. So it's like student syllabus getting upgraded, right? So apart from this main function of binding to the timetable, right? So there are other responsibilities of the parties and control of ODS. So few of these responsibilities are control of ODS trade. So now as a nation, we can either import the ODS or export the ODS that needs to be limit, right? And for this keeping a track of how much this ODS is associated to a nation. So these are systems which are known as national licensing systems, right? So these systems are like, there is this license which is given for import of ODS, that is to particular agents or export of ODS, right? And theoretically, a nation knows and advance how much ODS is be either exported or imported in the country. So apart from that, the main important responsibility is data reporting, right? Data reporting. So now this data needs to be reported annual basis, that is to ozone secretary, right? So, but mainly how data is reported, it's by following this particular formula, right? So ODS means ozone depleting substance, right? So ODS consumption is equal to ODS production. P means production plus ODS import, right? ODS import minus ODS E means export. ODS production plus ODS import minus ODS export, right? So that is equal to ODS consumption, right? So it means a nation can produce its own ODS. It can import minus the exported amount. It is the total ODS consumption of a particular nation or particular country, right? So that data need to be reported annually, right? Then next now, you see these are the important amendment meetings. Just so now there are meetings, right, which occur on a regular basis. So these meetings are also known as, what is that? Amendments, right? So what are the amendments? You see, first one, okay, London Amendment, right? London Amendments. So the Montreal Protocol entered into force in the year of 1989, followed by the first meeting in M.Sc. You see here, this one. This is the first meeting in the year of 1985, right? So, and second meeting, the London Amendment, right? So this is the second meeting, right? So the changed the ozone depleting substance emission schedule by requiring the complete phase out, right? Complete phase out of chlorofluorocarbons and halogens, and also carbon tetrachloride by the year of 2000 in developed countries, and by 2010 in developing countries, right? So in 2010 developing countries, methyl chloroform. This methyl chloroform was also added to the list of controlled ODS with phase out in developed countries targeted in the year of 2005, right? 2005. And also 2015 for developed countries. This is developed countries, and this is developing countries. So developed countries also agreed to help developing countries through transfer of expertise technology and money, right? So this is second meeting. And then next, third meeting. Third. So Copenhagen Amendment, right? This is the fourth meeting. Sorry, not third. This is fourth. 1, 2, 3 not is here. Only this is 4. So chlorofluorocarbons, right? Chlorofluorocarbons phase out. It had been mandated for the 1st January 1996 at the Copenhagen meeting held in the year of 1992.
Copenhagen is Denmark, madam. Denmark.
Denmark anukuntadi. And
Helsinki ante Finland.
Enti Durgesh?
Helsinki ante Finland, madam. Copenhagen ante Denmark.
Denmark, right. And also halons. Halons had been required to be totally phased out by 1st January 1994. And carbon tetrachloride and also methyl bromide chloroform by the 1st January 1996. These two, right? So in developing countries, it can continue to produce and purchase chlorofluorocarbons and carbon tetrachloride for use until the year of 2010. And methyl chloroform until 2015, right? This is developing countries. And developed countries, it can continue to produce chlorofluorocarbons up to 15%. 15% of their 1986 baseline to help developing countries to meet their domestic needs and also for essential uses such as medical devices also, right? So significantly accelerated the phase out of this ODS and incorporated a hydrochlorofluorocarbons phase out for developed countries beginning in the year of 2004. Years koncham gurtu pettukodam kastame, but you can remember. So under this agreement, chlorofluorocarbons and also halones and carbon tetrachloride and also the methyl bromide. Sorry, methyl chloroform also were added for complete phase out in the year of 1996 in developed countries, right? And then next meeting is Montreal. This is the 9th meeting. 9th meeting, right? So in this amendment was included the phase out schedule for hydrochlorofluorocarbons were introduced for developing countries, as well as the deadline for the phase out of methyl bromide was moved forced in developed and developing countries in the year of 2005 and 2015 respectively, right? And the next meeting, Beijing. So this is the 11th meeting, right? So 11th meeting, Beijing Amendment, right? So in this amendment include tightened controls on the production and trade of these hydrochlorofluorocarbons were introduced, right? And bromochloromethane. So this was also added to the list of controlled substances with phase out targeted for 2004. 2004. Remember. So in 2015, the Montreal Protocol became the first universally ratified international treaty. It is signed by all 190 members. Remember this, all 197 members of the United States, right? Then next, last one is Kigali Amendment. You see, so this is the figure. This is the 28th meeting. Remember this, 28th meeting, right? So in the 28th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol, the negotiators from 197 nations have signed a historic agreement to amend the Montreal Protocol in Kigali. So Kigali is the capital city of a teeny African country, right? That is Rwanda. Right? On the year of 10th to 15th between, right? 10th to 14th October 2016, right? So as per the agreement, these countries are expected to reduce the manufacture and use of hydrofluorocarbons, right? Hydrofluorocarbons by roughly 80 to, how much? 80 to 85 from their respective baselines till what is the period? 2045. 80 to 85%. That is till 2045. So this phase down is expected to arrest the global average temperature, that is rise up 0.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. That is the year 2100. Right? So in 2016, in Kigali agreement or Kigali meeting, hydrofluorocarbons were added to the Montreal Protocol, and these were also used as replacement compounds for chlorofluorocarbons. They do not affect the ozone layers, right? So that's why they replacement these compounds. So, but they are strong greenhouse gases, right? And next it is a legally binding agreement between the signatory parties with non-compliance measures. So it will come into effect from 1st January 2019. It is provided it is ratified by at least 20 member parties by then, right? So it has shown a considerable flexibility in approach while setting phase down or targets for different economies, accommodating their developmental aspirations and different socio-economic compulsions and scientific and technological capabilities, right? So you see here, it has divided the signatory parties into some 3 groups, right? You see here. So the first group, it consists of rich and developed economies like USA, UK, and UE countries, right? So who will start to phase down hydrofluorocarbons by the 2019 and reduce it to 15% of 2012 levels by 2036, right? And second group consists that is of emerging economies like China, Brazil, African countries, right? As well as some African countries who will start phase down by 2024 and reduce it to 20% of 2021 by levels by 2045. And third party group. So the third group consists of developing countries. So India is developed country or developing country? Tell me.
Country.
Huh?
Developing country, madam.
Yes, right. So manamu ee group lo vastam, right? This is the developing countries. And some of the hottest climatic countries like India, Pakistan, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. So who will start phasing down hydrofluorocarbons by 2028 and it reduce it to 15% of 2024 to 26 levels, right? Till 2047. You remember this, right? So it also has a provision for a mutual funds for developing countries for adaptation and mitigation, right? So why is Kigali Agreement significant? So it strengthens the Paris Agreement, right? Paris Agreement, which sets an ambitious targets of restricting the rise in global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius as compared to pre-industrial levels, right? So unlike this Paris Agreement, it gives clear and concrete and mandatory targets with fixed timelines to the signatory parties to achieve their targets. So it would prevent the emissions of these hydrofluorocarbons equivalent to 70 billion tons of carbon dioxide, right? So in India, Kigali Agreement is, India played a very flexible and cooperative role in the whole negotiating process, right? So it has agreed on a lenient schedule as it consumes only this 3% of hydrofluorocarbons as compared to other nations like the USA. USA means 37 and China. China is 25%. So India is only 3%, right? So it would be taught for Indian to adhere to this agreement along with Paris Pact, especially when it has embarked on an ambitions make in India. Is that make in India? So make in India program to increase its industrial production. So this program, make in India. So it should also take into consideration the hot climatic conditions and also growing demand for air conditioners, refrigerators, and cars with growing middle class incomes while implementing the programs, right? So still it has a responsible nation with a global perspective. And the Indian government has voluntarily passed the order to stop the production of this hydrofluorocarbon 23, which is a byproduct of commonly used in, what is that? Refrigerant. So this will reduce the emission by 100 million tons equivalent of carbon dioxide in the next 15 years. You see this. Right? Then next, so Montreal Protocol has been generally very successful, right? So there is mostly strong compliance with its regulations, right? And the major ozone depleting substances have started to decrease in the atmosphere. So we are now starting to see the first sign of the ozone layer beginning to heal. So this phase down is expected to recover the global average temperature rise up to how much? 0.5 degrees Celsius between 2050 here. 2050 to 2100, right? So this is the Montreal Protocol. You write these all amendments, right? And write this.
It's a little difficult to learn, ma'am, but okay.
Years are very critical.
Remember the years and everything, ma'am.
I will give the notes, no problem. Okay. So this is the Montreal Protocol. Okay. So I will upload the PPTs in your WhatsApp group. Okay. So 129. Okay, so today my class is 2 classes over. So then Vasanti madam will take the class at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So any doubts?
Ma'am, in Montreal protocol ఇవన్నీ మొత్తం రాయాలి.
Montreal amendments అంటారు. Amendments అంటే total
amendments and అంటే కిగాలి.
So remember Durgesh, first మీకు మాంట్రియల్ ప్రోటోకాల్ అన్నప్పుడు మీకు ఇప్పుడు నేనేం చెప్పాను టోటల్ రాసేసాను 15 మార్క్స్ క్వశ్చన్ వస్తాయి. యూ కెన్ రైట్ టోటల్ అబౌట్ ఓకే పర్టిక్యులర్లీ
బేసికలీ రెడ్యూసింగ్ సిఎఫ్సిస్ హెచ్ఎఫ్సిస్
మెయిన్ థింగ్ అదే కదా మనకి
ఎంత లెవెల్
బట్ యు రిమెంబర్ ఇయర్స్ గుర్తు పెట్టుకోవాలి మీరు జస్ట్
ఇయర్స్ ఒకటి హెల్సింకి ఒకటి కిగాలి
జస్ట్ అందుకే మీకు
హెల్సింకి
ఇప్పుడు జస్ట్ ఇది ఫిగర్స్ చూస్తే మీకు అర్థమవుతుందని ఇది పెట్టాను మాంట్రియల్ ప్రోటోకాల్ దట్ ఈస్ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ ఇన్ 1987 43 కంట్రీస్ సైన్ ఫ్రీజ్ క్లోరోఫ్లోరోకార్బన్స్ at 86 రైట్ సో రెడ్యూస్ బై 1999 50%. జస్ట్ ఇది చూస్తే మీరు ఈజీగా రాయగలుగుతారు.
ఒక టేబుల్ డ్రా చేస్తే
టేబుల్ యూ కెన్ డ్రా ది టేబుల్ ఆల్సో. ఓకే, నో వరీస్. ఇట్లా మన మాంట్రియల్ ప్రోటోకాల్, బీజింగ్ అమెండ్మెంట్, దెన్ నెక్స్ట్ అన్ని ఇలా రాసుకోవచ్చు మీరు. ఓకే, కోపెన్హాగన్ అండ్ ఆల్సో బీజింగ్ లైక్ దిస్. ఓకే ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఎవరికన్నా ఉంటే అడగండి. అందరూ వెళ్ళిపోయారు, 5 మెంబర్స్ ఉన్నారు. ఓకే ఓకే.